Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick, and we have ourselves your Week 1 preview. Cowboys at Giants, Sunday Night Football. We're here. We've made it. Justin, I said it at the top on this podcast. This is the first time we're coming off of playoffs and a winning season since 2017. First time we're coming off of a playoff win since Super Bowl 46. There's expectations, but I have erased last year from my memory. It's gone. It is now, and it's time to win games.
Bobby Skinner, nice haircut, number 1. Number 2, let's go to war. And number 3, because baby, you better believe we're back in the New York groove. Sunday Night Football, Dallas Cowboys. I grew up with that. Like, I'm a little bit younger, yeah. I grew up with Giants-Cowboys Sunday Night Football, whether it's in Jerry World Week 1, but I love that it's in MetLife Stadium Week 1 because home field advantage. I felt like we got some of that actually back last year, where Joe Shane, Wink Martindale, Brian Dable, they're all egging fans on. There's a blue out, by the way, on Sunday, so make sure that everybody wears blue. Message from Joe Shane and Brian Dable. This is awesome that primetime relevant Giants football is back Week 1. Everything is on the line. And if we're going to want this Giants team to turn the corner, it starts with a good divisional opponent Week 1 at home. Let's win some games.
Yeah, this is a winnable game. And to be real, the Cowboys are more talented. But the Giants should be better coached. And I think this is a game the Giants should steal. I really do. Like, I look at this, and this is a game where it's like, man, you guys should go in there and win. Daniel Jones, you should go in there with these new weapons and execute flawlessly. Saquon, you should get some big runs, and then we should outcoach them. Like, Kayvon Thibodeau, this year too, step up. We'll talk about it all, Justin. Before we get into the actual preview and going into the details, nitty-gritty, this episode was brought to you by some special people. Huckleberry Nacho, not Finn. E. Diddy run the city, but we're about to run this city. Just Scott, regular old Scott. Mike Brown, coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Edward Schaefer. Harrison Langford. He's going to Hangford with Langford. Corey Asanovsky, my guy. Zachary Squire, he's a Squire. Earth Rise, let's rise up, Earth. Talking Giants versus the Earth. Joe Prestigiacomo. Big Blue Goonie, who's a fun follow on Twitter, and then Matthew Kazuski. Justin, who are these people?
Oh my gosh, Bobby Skinner, take a breath. Those wonderful people. Went to patreon.com/talkinggiants for $2 a month plus some other tiers. You get to hang out with us live while we record the shows. We're getting pumped. We're getting pumped for Dallas. We got like 30 people in the chat hanging out with us. Bobby Skinner will send you some stickers in the mail. Also, game recap on Sunday night, too, if you want to hear the pod before anybody else. And then Bobby Skinner, I already said stickers, and then there's some shirt raffles a couple times a month. Patreon.com/TalkingGiants. Also, link in the description about our tailgates. If you're coming to the game this Sunday, make sure, if you want food, if you want to hang out with, if you can come and just hang out with us, but if you want food and you want access to like our entertainment stuff, you can click the link in the description for our tailgate. See you there, L16.
See you there. Just a kind of little preview of what we do in season 2 before I want to get into this preview pod. I don't want to delay too much, but so we have 3 podcasts. Monday is game recap, obviously. Wednesday, mailbag, which I think ends up being our best podcast of the week because it's a lot of analysis and thinking over things. And then Friday is the preview pod, where we'll give you a nice 20 to 30 minute preview. A lot of times we'll have an interview with someone who covers the other team we're playing. We don't do that for divisional rivals because we got a good feel on the team. And then Danny King will join us later for a fantasy draft. We'll explain that all in the later on in the show. And then O-line report Tuesday, film review Tuesday. We got a lot coming out. So let's get into it, though. Let's get into this preview, Justin.
Yep.
The Cowboys defense is really, really good. And honestly, they're returning every single starter is back except for one. The new starter at that position is Stephon Gilmore, Justin. They're the number 5 scoring defense. Last season, number 12 in yards. But they have shown that they can consistently be a good turnover team. Like, last year, the Cowboys were defense. Were like, oh, there's going to be aggression. They're not going to, be able to live off the turnovers. Nope, they were number 1 in turnovers again. Interceptions, and they had an interception and a fumble per game. They play aggressive, which they are able to do well, but it also can make them vulnerable to giving up plays as well, Justin.
But I think it all starts with the pass rush, right? And I think why we haven't seen the regression from a turnover standpoint is because they can rush 4 or 5, and Dan Quinn doesn't need to blitz like crazy. Did you say that his blitz rate was somewhere in the middle of the pack before we were recording, Bobby?
Their blitz rate is middle of the pack. They'll rush with 4 at 5 at most. They're not running like Wink Martindale type blitzes. And like what they'll do is they'll put 3 ends on the field at the same time. Like they'll put Dorrance Armstrong out there with Tank Lawrence and Micah Parsons. Their pass rush is relentless. They'll stunt at you, so they'll take chances within the rushing of 4 where you put an extra end on the field where you'll stunt. Then with their coverage in the back, they're going to play man coverage. They're going to play single high safety, cover 1, man you up, and hope that their pass rush gets there and that their man coverage, they will give up plays, right? And we'll talk about it with the DBs, but their pass rush is relentless where they make you pay for it eventually.
Yeah, and even some underrated guys. You mentioned Dorrance Armstrong. He's an 8.5 sack guy, 16 QB hit, and also had 10 tackles for loss. I mean, for a guy that maybe you consider your number 3, number 4 guy, that's pretty darn good. Osa Odighizuwa is an interior guy who is a little bit of a liability against the run, but he's a fine interior defensive lineman who does get after the quarterback a little bit. Owa Odighizuwa's brother. Jonathan Hankins, old friend, is listed as an interior defensive lineman on this team. He's ahead on the depth chart on Mozzie Smith, who struggled a little bit in the preseason, had trouble kind of getting off the ball, but still, Mozzie Smith is a guy that's going to be rotating in and out, and he's a strong first-round pick for Dallas this year. Dante Fowler Jr. is like their number 4, maybe even number 5 guy, where if Dante Fowler Jr. were on the Giants, we would be celebrating that this guy is our number 3 edge rusher. The depth of the health of Sam Williams is a little bit up in the air. I think he has a little bit of a foot injury. Hasn't really practiced this week, but I think that'll be kind of like a game time decision. I don't know if he's going to play or not. And then, of course, you mentioned that they added Stephon Gilmore. So this defense is really, really good. But we did see certain times last year where the Giants did play them, especially in that second matchup, Bobby, where they did make some plays. I also think when we matched up against Dallas last year in both of those games, I'll go through the receivers that caught the ball in the first matchup. Sterling Shepard, Saquon Barkley, Daniel Bellinger, Richie James, David Sills, Kenny Golladay, Chris Myrick. Those were all of the guys who caught a football for the Giants during that first matchup. During that first game. That's not great. I think we matched up with them both times last year in a bad time for the Giants.
It starts up front, though.
Yeah.
Right? And I want to talk about this because Andrew Thomas did have the flu last year for this game. And he looked bad in the run game as well. And he also had his worst, 14% of the, pass rush production he gave up was versus Micah Parsons in this game. Justin, it's truly a matchup of great versus great. Right? And Parsons tweeted after that Thanksgiving game, Hurdy's the best. I lined up on his side all game. And Micah Parsons won that matchup. Andrew Thomas is obviously not dealing with the flu for this game. Even forget the fact that Thomas had the flu. This is a matchup that we're going to see for years to come. And Parsons is the type of play, we'll see how Thomas does versus Nick Bosa. Parsons is the only player to me who I think really makes life difficult for Andrew Thomas. Regardless. Even though Andrew Thomas had really good reps in that first game, they didn't match up a ton. You can see it's every single play, you have to be totally dialed in. The way that Parsons moves, he is truly an amazing player, right? The Lawrence Taylor comparisons are crazy, but they're happening because of how good he is and how quickly he became good in the NFL as a pass rusher. His footwork is flawless. He takes advantage of every single mistake you make. If you overset by a half of a yard, he's going to kill your ass inside. You don't set deep enough, he's going to get around the corner. He will test you every single play, and I don't think he's better than Nick Bosa as a pass rusher right now, but as a speed rusher, I don't think there's a pass rusher who moves better than him in the NFL.
And I think why Andrew Thomas has so much success is because he is so athletic, he can move, and he can move with the best pass rushers. So Micah Parsons is one of those only guys that can really test, if not beat, Andrew Thomas from an athletic standpoint. And that's why this is such a fun matchup. Agreed?
Yeah, and even like with Thomas in the flu, like does he look like other tackles when they face Micah Parsons? No, Parsons kills those guys on a down in, down out basis. But for the standard we have for Thomas, and for the fact that we know sacks can end games or end drives, like it's the biggest. It is the biggest correlation to drives ending are sacks. And Parsons was able to get 2 last year on Andrew Thomas in that game. So we'll see, but I'm excited for it. Like I think Andrew Thomas. Like, as quiet as Andrew Thomas is, you don't think that tweet is going in his mind?
Oh, yeah.
He's not thinking, oh, you got me on the flu. Let's see now. Week 1. Like, I am excited for that matchup, even though I think Parsons is the best capable pass rusher to beat Andrew Thomas in the NFL.
Yeah.
Flu or not.
I'm excited for it, too. All right, where do you want to
Well, I want to go to the other side. The part
Evan
I'm
Neal.
not excited for, Evan Neal. Even if Evan Neal is improved, this is a hell of a test, right? Because Parsons does move on both sides of the field, and that's going to be a hell of a battle. But DeMarcus Lawrence killed him.
3
Had
sacks.
3
first
sacks
game.
on him last year.
And also,
Dorrance
DeMarcus
Armstrong can do some stuff.
DeMarcus Lawrence had 6 sacks all last year. 3 of them came against Evan Neal early in the season, week 3.
I am not. If Evan Neal gets a lot of Micah Parsons reps and lose those, I'm not going to judge him too harshly. But you do need to DeMarcus Lawrence isn't the elite guy in the NFL anymore. You need to win that battle. Thomas won that battle at the end of his rookie season. Evan Neal needs to win that battle versus DeMarcus Lawrence.
Yes. 1,000%.
Like, that just has to be something. And then on the interior, they're going to stunt at you, and that's where the rotation, I hope they don't do that. I hope they go into this realize we got to stay together. But Gawinski, regardless, he's the one who's been more constant. He was very bad in this matchup. Him and Neal have struggled with stunt pickups. I do think the coaching staff for the Giants is going into this game with kind of a mindset of like not putting a ton of trust at that right side of the offensive line.
So let me ask you this. 2 matchups last year where we saw play action rollout after play action rollout after play action rollout. And any time that Daniel Jones really did stand within the pocket, especially that first game, it was Evan Neal getting beaten that right side of the offensive line, struggling a lot. Do we think the Giants are going to have a similar game plan to that, or will we be able to see a little bit more of a drop-back passing offense?
It's going to be interesting because, like you said, the Giants did run a ton. I mean, it was play action like every single play in that second meeting. You know, they had guys like Jack Anderson starting, which is obviously a big downgrade from if Ben Bredesen's playing left guard. But they ran a ton of play action, and they were able to get some big plays off of it to like Lawrence Cage or Chris Meyer. Hodgins had one that the touchdown that was called back. For Tyree Phillips being 4 yards down the field, which like again it didn't affect the play at all, even though it is a penalty. But the coaching staff with McCarthy, I think they're going to be. I think they saw that too, and they're going to be dialed in for some play action stuff, and. Hey, I think they're gonna come out running some play action, and if the over routes are there, we're gonna throw them to Darren Waller, Darius Slayton, whoever. But if they're crashing on them, you got to be quick to adjust. Justin, like if they're ready for that play action, like if their ends crash down, like that's what they did last year. Run off of it, right? Boot off of it, run off of it. You're gonna have stuff in the flats, and if their safety starts coming down, trying to cut that crosser off. You got to throw it. You've got to throw the deep posts, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to have Jalen Hyatt probably out there on some of those plays, Darius Slayton on some of those plays. You got to throw those type of plays. And the Giants have different personnel. Like you mentioned all the receivers. There's going to be ways.
There's one guy that really makes everybody so different, and that's Darren Waller.
Darren Waller. But even like Hyatt being added to this team and Campbell, like they play single high safety, right? You put Slayton and Hyatt on the field together.
Yeah.
You have Darren Waller attack the safety.
Yep.
Force them to leave Waller or Hyatt in single coverage. So, like, whether you're running play action or drop back, force them. If they're going to run single high safety, attack that safety with Darren Waller and force them to either go over the top on Jalen Hyatt, because Jalen Hyatt's going to win some of those battles, or you got single coverage with Darren Waller. And we know he's going to win that battle on a consistent basis. And guess what? If they play the Giants differently, they drop in the 2 high, well, that's where these weapons are going to help. Number 26, Saquon Barkley. Run the ball. check into those runs. And I'm excited to see Daniel Jones take more command of this offense with this talent, and defenses are going to play them a little differently.
I mean, even think if they're running a lot of man coverage, think back to the first drive of the preseason game against the Panthers, where Darren Waller kind of just ate. I really even think on the outside, where I think we can run a little bit more of a conventional drop back offense. Well, Daniel Jones on that drive versus the Panthers, he got rid of the ball in like 2.5 seconds or less. Like most of those throws, I charted it and I clocked every single one of those throws that he took on that drive. And Darren Waller was a large part of it. You know, if you're gonna put him on the outside, he can run a little slant, he can get a little aggressive, he can give a little push off within 5 yards, and hopefully they won't call offensive pass interference, and then he's available that way. Like Darren Waller, I think, and how he's used and how he gets open and how Dallas is game planning for Darren Waller, I think that is the biggest X factor of this game.
Well, that's the thing, is you can put Waller all over and do a bunch of different things. Like, he's a hard player to game plan. Like, you can win, he's going to win consistently in the quick game. He'll win consistently beating you deep. So that's where Waller just makes everything so much easier. And while I do think they will be able to do some, I don't think they're going to be, the Kansas City Chiefs with their drop back passing. They're going to want to run and do play action. But Waller, when you do that drop back passing, is going to allow you to get the ball out quickly and confidently.
Yes.
And where you're not, like you mentioned before, we're not throwing the David Sills and Kenny Galladay and Richie James and all these cats. And obviously the other guys can win too.
Right.
So like Darius Slayton had 2 deep shots in that second game versus Anthony Brown. Now he's facing a 33-year-old Stephon Gilmore. But Gilmore gave up the 15th most catches in the NFL last year in the kind of a bend don't break Colts defense, but the 10th, but also had the 10th most forcing completions. And then Diggs was top in yards allowed and touchdowns allowed and stuff. But he also is top in those pass breakups where they play an attacking style man coverage defense. So you're going to win some, but you got to make sure you're not making the mistakes that lose you the game either. And
I do think that is the main difference this year with the whole quick passing game and drop back passing, is that last year's drop back passing offense, I felt like it was Isaiah Hodgins, very Isaiah Hodgins heavy, getting open very quick last year. Then also Richie James. Like if Richie James doesn't get open in the slot right away, then all right, we're talking about a drop back passing offense that needs the offensive line to maybe hold up to allow some plays to develop. Where this year, you obviously want that. We want some big plays thrown in there, but we have the Jimmies and Joes like Paris Campbell. Hodgins is here for the whole year. Darren Waller. We have those 3 guys that are going to get open quick. And hey, Sterling Shepard's even still here too. Like I still think Sterling Shepard is a guy that's going to get some routes as the game develops, and there will be some packages where Shepard will be in there on like a first down or a third down, something like that. So
you even have Hodgins, who separates versus man in the quick game. Like even though Hodgins was on the team for that second game, he didn't really have the role that he had as the season after the season progressed. He was fairly new to the team at that point still. So there's different things that you can do to win versus them. But again, they make you pay. So it's like, hey, Hodgins, he wins versus man, right? But he's also not fast. And you could win it versus man 4 or 5 times versus Trayvon Diggs. But Diggs can get that interception on the 6th time, right? And that's where you got to be careful with this stuff. But that's where I think Waller, they don't really have anyone who can just flat out match up with Waller. But we're 20 minutes in, Justin. We haven't talked about this. They're not great stopping the run either. They're not god-awful or anything, but they're not an amazing run-stop defense, and they run stunts and stuff, so you can get out on the edges. The Giants got to be better with combos. Again, Andrew Thomas was really bad in the run in that flu game, but you have Saquon Barkley, right? And against a team that is very aggressive, like running the ball should be a big part of this game plan too. Like, shouldn't be doing like early Giants last year game plan, but as much as we're in love with all these new weapons, and we should be, and what the things the passing offense can do, you still have Saquon Barkley on this team, and you should be running the ball a good amount.
Yeah, second matchup, like you said, the Giants just had a lot of trouble running the ball. Saquon had 11 attempts for 39 yards. You mentioned Thomas, also Jack Anderson starting at guard. But in that first matchup,
Anderson and Thomas were really bad next to each other.
You had that first game, though, where Saquon had 14 attempts for 81 yards. That's 5.78 yards per carry. And then DJ also had 9 attempts for 79 yards, too. Which, if they do want to roll out that play-action stuff again, like if you're running man coverage and you're running routes that are stretching the field, Daniel Jones has an option to, okay, I can either throw the ball or I could tuck and I can run, and odds are I'm going to have a path. I'm going to have a 10, 15-yard gain where I can even just slide out of bounds and not even take a hit. So that's why I also like those play-action rollouts. Not beaten to death, but I like them every once in a while.
Yeah, this isn't a game I think where you're going to get a ton of read option versus them. They play that pretty well, but like you mentioned on those play-action boots, like they're going to have the end crash down. If they're not covering the flat, they're going to get wide open passes in the flats, and they made plays doing that. And if they don't cover the flat very well, that's when Daniel Jones can take off. Like that's when a lot of his yards in those games came on scrambles. Do you have anything else on their defense before we talk about our defense versus their offense?
No, go offensive line. Let's go. Yeah. Go.
Today's episode, before we get into that, is brought to you by SeatGeek.
Oh, yeah,
SeatGeek.
Sure.
SeatGeek. You better have gotten your tickets for this game by SeatGeek. If you don't know what SeatGeek is, they're a ticketing app that makes buying tickets super simple. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events every single day on SeatGeek, including sports, concerts, festivals, and more. But let's be real. There's 17 events on there out of that 70,000 that just mean more. The New York Giants football games. Hopefully 21 events. They always want to make sure that you are getting a good deal. So when you're on the app, look for the green dots, baby. Dots, dots, green, green. Look for the Daniel Jones green dots. Green means good, red means bad. Pretty simple. Like when you're looking at the next gen charts. Every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek is the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps. We've got the hookup. Use code GIANTS for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code GIANTS. Click the link in the description to download the app. You will be glad you did.
Can I tell you something?
Tell me something.
I watched the highlights of the second Dallas game because I just remember how that game broke my heart, and I remember how, like, yeah, we could have won. Like, you look at the final score, and it was 28-20, and I think the Giants scored like a last-second, like, kind of garbage time touchdown. So Dallas just took over in the second half. What was the score at halftime that game?
I know the Giants were winning by like 3 points or something, right?
13-7.
13-7. Yeah.
13-7.
Dak made some mistakes, which we'll talk about here in a second.
2 interceptions in the first half, but Bobby, before you get down to it, I know we just spent a lot of time on the offense. We're probably going to spend more time on the offense than the defense on these previews because, you know, it's important to score points. But I do think, Bobby
especially
Skinner,
the Cowboys.
I do think, Bobby Skinner, that this game is going to come down to if the defense can take control and control this game. I do think it's going to come down to that.
Sneezing.
Well, there you go.
And I think that starts up front, right?
Sure. Both sides.
Yeah. Look how generic our previews have come. And all that matters is the O-line and the D-line.
Oh, yeah. Get more original.
Tyler Smith and Biadasz, I think, are the weak links on this offensive line. Tyler Smith, because he's bad. Like, he didn't practice on Wednesday with a hamstring. He may play, he may not. But at the end of the day, I expect our defensive tackles to beat Tyler Smith. We watched Kayvon beat him significantly at tackle. And I think Smith is going to be a really good player. But I expect our interior to win versus him and Biadasz. Obviously, Zach Martin, he shouldn't be dominating our guys, but we're not going to beat Zach Martin consistently. Terrence Steele is a solid right tackle. Tyron Smith, though, man, he's not as old as you think, but he's not producing. He's not the same Tyron Smith that he once was, right?
Right.
So they don't have depth. If Tyler Smith isn't a go, this offensive line to me is vulnerable. And that makes Dak vulnerable. And especially with Dex, because Dex is the guy. He's the all-pro. He's the guy who did things we've never seen a nose tackle ever do. And you look at Dak interceptions, and a lot of times they are pressure-based. And, you know, his 2 interceptions versus the Giants last year were pressure-based.
Yeah, it was Dexter Lawrence coming up the middle on that Rodarius Williams interception towards that left sideline. The other one was a tipped. It was like a tip pass. Was it like even a flat
then,
out bad
it was
throw?
an overthrow by Dak. It was
okay.
Pressure by Kayvon, and Dak overthrows it. Yes, it got tipped by the defender. and to Julian Love's hands. He also missed CeeDee Lamb on a third down where he beat the coverage. So with pressure, so the pressure that's where Dak he misses high when they're trying to move the ball down the field on those plays, and that's where interceptions are just third down. Not converting on third down shows up. We need Dex to be a superstar in this game.
Yeah, for sure.
Because he is one.
During that first Cowboy matchup, I know, Cowboy fans are going to be like, oh, well, Dak Prescott wasn't there. But from a Giants perspective, that first Cowboys matchup, there was no Leonard Williams. It was Kayvon Thibodeau's first game, and there was no Azeez Ojulari. And you looked at Henry Mondeau was running out there, starting an interior defensive line. You had Nick Williams out there, too. The second matchup, you were missing both Xavier McKinney and Adoree Jackson, plus Azeez Ojulari was not playing. And I agree with you, man, where I do think this game is going to come down to if the Giants can get pressure on Dak Prescott. I know I'm a little iffy about, we're all a little iffy on the starting corners in the secondary, and maybe you think my brain would go there as a priority. But no, I mean, I think for both sides of the ball, the pressure that each of these teams can get on the quarterback and the disruption that they can force, whether it's the Cowboys' natural talent rushing 4 or 5, or whether it's Wink Martindale doing what he does, that will be one of the main deciders of this game. And I do feel kind of basic saying that, but I kind of think it's just true.
Well, let's talk about the corners. We expect these to be the 3 matchups, right? Deontay Banks on Brandon Cooks, Trey Hawkins on Michael Gallup, and Adoree Jackson on CeeDee Lamb.
I want to start with, you said Hawkins on Gallup, right?
Yeah.
I want to start there because
Gallup bullied the Giants corners last year.
That second matchup, he was just catching back shoulder fades, and even there was one little bit of a jump ball where there was a corner that had good coverage. It was McLeod and
on
Gallup,
third down.
I actually, if you look on YouTube at the replay of that second Dallas game, and you'll see it was a third down, and they were very far into the Giants' territory. You actually see Wink Martindale kind of jump in the air as Gallup goes up and jumps for the ball. So knowing that Trey Hawkins, there's a little bit of a concern of him at the catch point, even if he has a quote-unquote good coverage on a guy. Gallup versus Hawkins is a matchup that I have circled for that particular reason, because Gallup doesn't need to be open to make that catch.
Yeah, like you mentioned, at the catch point is where Gallup wins and where Hawkins needs to prove himself in the NFL. Banks and Cooks, I think Cooks is one of the more underrated additions of the offseason. I probably said that 5 times on this podcast all offseason. Banks should go out there and compete. I'm not expecting him to win every single battle with that, but he should go out there and compete. And I think with what Wink Martindale is going to do, they're not going to put Banks in too much of a vulnerable spot, even though he will be in man coverage. Where it's hey, we're going to work some inside leverage versus this guy. Press him up, work inside leverage. Just don't totally lose the release, which Cooks is very good at. Adoree on Lamb. I know that's been the talk. We put Adoree on Lamb. That still, to me, we talk about Hawkins. To me, that's still the most important matchup. Because CeeDee Lamb, if there's been one player who's had Adoree Jackson's number as 2 years as a New York Giant, it's CeeDee Lamb. He's consistently been able to beat Adoree Jackson for big plays. That is it's going to be interesting in the slot. I think when he goes outside, I think Adoree is going to be on him all game long. Everything is pointed towards that. Every single rep, those guys will be facing against each other, except for when Wink is doing some of his more exotic type of rushes and stuff. But you can't give up the big plays on that type of stuff, right? Because that's where Dak goes under pressure. When Dak's under pressure, he's going to throw to CeeDee Lamb, especially on third downs. And Dak can put a nice ball on CeeDee Lamb, where it's man, that's a great throw, and then CeeDee Lamb has just enough separation. You kind of have to smother this guy on third down. We're even I know we're worried about the rookie corners and stuff, but I would be hey, let's make sure we get CeeDee Lamb taken care of on third down, because that's where Dak likes to go to.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially in man coverage.
And also another main thing, we haven't mentioned this yet, another main thing that's different for the Cowboys this year, Kellen Moore's gone, which I'm kind of glad. Kellen Moore.
I don't even think Kellen Moore that was that great of an OC. And
he was good against the fucking Giants, though.
Yes, he was. When he had more talent.
Mike McCarthy is the new play caller. Schottenheimer is the offensive coordinator, I believe, but Mike McCarthy is the play caller. McCarthy called plays for a long time, as we know, with Green Bay. And from 2012 to the end of 2018, the Green Bay Packers were the number one team in the NFL on early down pass frequency. Now, this is interesting because I see that, and like I remember my eye test and, kind of just seeing people criticize McCarthy for a lot of different reasons as the play caller for the Green Bay Packers. And I even had some people on my mentions today when I posted that graphic about Packers being number one in early down pass frequency. I said, well, Aaron Rodgers would change the play at the line of scrimmage. And I'm thinking to myself, well, is he changing every play at the line of scrimmage for like 6-7 years from what Mike McCarthy's calling? And it's interesting because you have that tendency that Mike McCarthy had in Green Bay. You have Dak Prescott throwing a lot of interceptions last year, even though the offense was still explosive on their end. And you had Mike McCarthy saying some comments this offseason about how, maybe they would trade not scoring 30 points every game and being explosive just so they're not turning the ball over more on offense, which I think is an interesting and weird quote, but that could be their mentality heading into the season, that they want to lean on the run game a little bit more. So where is Mike McCarthy in this whole play calling and offense, but new offense with Schottenheimer? Where are they, and what is he going to do? That's like a big question heading into this Sunday, too.
Well, and just how good is their run game going to be, too? Like
Pollard's good.
But I know he was better than Zeke, but having those two together was a nice little duo. And now you don't. You have Rico Dowdle as your backup back and Deuce Vaughn. But where they've always killed the Giants, and this was Zeke or Pollard, is out on the edges, right? And this is where, like, Kayvon Thibodeau, Azeez Ojulari, Jahad Ward, Boogie Bat, set the damn edge. Make plays out there. And then also, Bobby Okereke. This is your first game as a Giant. This is going to be one of the toughest tests you get. Because you're going to have to diagnose and get over the top quick. Because they have, especially if Tyler Smith plays the way he's as athletic as he is out on the edges in the run game. Like, he's really good out there. So you got to be able to diagnose and get over the top very, very quickly. And we've seen them, down after down, be able to get outside the offensive tackles with bad edge setting, whether it's O'Shane Ximines or whoever. And then also, like, the linebackers being a step late and just not diagnosing what they're doing. So, like, this is a big test for everybody on this team. But Okereke, it's like you can't just be fast and sideline to sideline. You gotta figure out what they're doing and figure it out quick.
Yeah. McFadden, second year in the system, being more comfortable. And I know this doesn't really go to your point about running outside the tackles, but the interior D line is so different too, where you have a healthy Leo, and then A'Shawn Robinson's a big wild card. We haven't really gotten a lot of updates on him, but even I'll take Rakeem Nunez-Roches and Jordan Riley as, like, your number 3 and number 4.
Not on the injury report. He should be number 3. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Oh, that's actually a really good point. I was celebrating earlier this week and, like, kind of just sitting back and being like, wow, there's, like, nobody on the injury report. That's really, really freaking cool. So, yeah, man, I'm with you. And especially with the speed of Pollard, the explosiveness of Pollard. Tony Pollard is one of the, if not, he is the most explosive runner in the National Football League, not on a volume standpoint, but on an efficiency standpoint. And he's been really good for the last couple of years. So now that he's the number 1 there in Dallas and he's going to get more volume, what does it look like? And they probably will lean on him running outside the tackle since he's so fast and athletic and explosive.
All right, Justin, are you ready to welcome Danny King on?
I'm ready to welcome Danny King on. If my guy Rodarius Williams can do it, why can't Deonte Banks and Trey Hawkins? That's what I'll say. That's what I'll say. And before we welcome on Danny King, we have to talk about a new sponsor, and that is Waterboy. Support for today's episode comes from Waterboy. Waterboy is a hydration powder scientifically formulated to cut your hangover time in half. That's huge. There are other hydration packs on the market, but nothing comes anywhere close to fighting those Sunday scaries like Waterboy with 0 sugar and over 3 times the electrolytes of Liquid IV. Your hangover will stand no chance. And by the way, I mean, you know who this is great for? My buddy Nicky Snacks. He, having a couple Pinots on a Saturday night, and he's got to wake up for a 1 p.m. Giants game at like 6 a.m. Man, he's going to wake up. He's going to smash some Water Boys. He's going to get ready to rock and roll. I actually have it in my cup right now. This is strawberry lemonade. I have it in my cup right now. My cup of water is almost done because I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to the warehouse in a little bit. We're live streaming for the warehouse, so I have a long day ahead of me, along with recording this preview pod. So thanks to Waterboy for getting me ready to rock and roll in my day. And it does taste great because it's the best part. Their most popular flavors include strawberry lemonade, lemon lime. I got to check that out. Blue raspberry. You're going to actually want to drink these. I agree. Hundreds of thousands of people already trust Waterboy as their hangover cure. It's time to stop dealing with that anxiety alone. For a limited time, my listeners get an exclusive 15% off discount when they use code GIANTS at waterboy.com. That's 50% off with the code GIANTS at waterboy.com. Waterboy has got you covered, and Bobby Skinner, you'll be glad you did.
Best part of waking up is Waterboy in your cup. You'll be glad you did. All right. Preview pods means we welcome on Danny King, the third member of Talking Giants, for weather and trivia. Weatherman Danny King. Danny, last year, week 1, you kind of staked your claim on no, it's not going to rain, despite all the forecasts saying it's going to rain. What is the weather like for Sunday night in East Rutherford, New Jersey?
Well, one, thanks again for having me back. Happy to be here. What a time to be alive, but I can't make that same claim this week. It's year 5? God, wow, that's kind of crazy. But I cannot make that same claim this week, unfortunately for Justin and the L16 crew. There's a chance for some rain. Not gonna lie to you. Gonna keep it a buck with you. There's a chance for some showers. Not gonna be very windy, only like 6 miles per hour. But there's a chance of showers. Looking at my little future models, because that's what we got here at Talking Giants. We just get better and better each year. It's saying around anytime after 12 until 6, there's a chance for some rain, but it's not going to be anything devastating. It's showers.
What about 8?
Just showers.
8 o'clock.
Is it going to rain during the game? Yes or no?
I don't think it's going to rain during the game.
Oh!
I think maybe it tapers off by the end of the game, or not end of the game, but during the beginning of the game, but it won't be a washout.
We have tents. L16, we have tents. I'm not worried.
Tents, show up then. What are you doing?
All right, Justin or Danny, do we have trivia for week 1?
We do. This week, I was feeling kind of reminiscent because obviously the Giants, I'm not saying they're a world beater team right now, but they got some fun. We made some very fun additions. You look at the Darren Wallers, just everything all around. So I decided to go back to 2020, and it's a mix of 2 questions. They're very quick. Trust me, they're very quick. So who led the Giants in rushing touchdowns during the first Cowboys matchup of the 2020 season? So who was the Giant rushing touchdowns? First game.
Of the 2020 season?
Of the 2020 season. COVID year, Joe Judge first year.
Oh, I almost said Wayne Gallman because I remember he had that garbage one in 2019. So that was not a week 1 game because we had the Steelers. So that was... I'm going to...
Oh, I know.
But I think it was. I think it was Wayne Gallman though, because that was the first.
It was October 11th was the first game.
Yeah, that was the game we were scored 30 points. I'm going to say Wayne Gallman.
Justin, do you have the answer?
Freeman.
Justin is right. It was Devontae Freeman.
Devontae Freeman had a touchdown in that game?
Had the 1 touchdown in that game. So gave me a good chuckle. And then just the second game, who led the Giants to receive a touchdown? We're going to go offense and a defense here. There's 2
in the
of them.
second game?
In the second game. So the game that ended the season, that we won. We won that game, obviously.
It's a tie.
It's a tie. It's 1 touchdown, 2 players.
It's Dante Pettis and Sterling Shepard. Although Sterling Shepard did have 2 touchdowns, he had a rushing touchdown in that game.
Justin, do you agree with Bobby?
I think I'll agree with Bobby that he said that too confidently.
It's just a fact. There was no guessing
it was the
there.
Dante Pettis, little throwback to Dante Pettis that made me laugh. So yes, Sterling Shepard, Dante Pettis, and then Devontae Freeman. We've come a long way since 2020.
But we went 2 for 2 there.
We did. No, you guys did go 2 for 2. Come on.
That's a great way to start the season. Yeah.
Look at that. We'll get back to the more in-depth ones, but we've done so many Cowboy ones. I physically have run out of Cowboy ones, so I'm going to start brainstorming even more for the next one.
All right, so we got we on these preview pods we do segments after the actual preview. So we have we're gonna do spread picks, quick picks through that. We'll do the Giants score prediction. We do a Giant factor. We'll explain that. But we start with a fantasy draft, in which I won last year with 720 points. Justin took second with 672.7 points. Danny took third. Do you know how many points you had, Danny?
I still want to know. I was
666. 666.
Oh no!
Oh my
Satanic
God.
Satanic Danny.
That's what they call him.
because I won, I decided to pick third for the first one, and then Justin will pick second, Danny will pick first. So basically what we do is we take a fantasy draft of players from the Giants and then players from the opponent that they play, no quarterbacks, and it's PPR. So it's just, wide receiver, running back, tight end for each. And then also, remember, we do have the trade rule because there's just too many times where we drafted people and they were inactive. I don't forecast that this week, where if you drafted a guy in the third or fourth round, you can trade him for someone that went undrafted before 3 hours before the game, basically before I put the graphic up. All right, Danny, but you have the first pick this year. Who are you going with?
I'm not going to beat around the horse. I'm taking Saquon Barkley. Just old reliable. There's a part of me that wanted to go Darren Waller, but I just wanted to stick with old reliable than one I know for week one, and that is Saquon Barkley. I have plenty of opportunities to take Darren Waller first overall if I want to, but this week just Saquon Barkley.
It'll be interesting to see how many carries Saquon gets in this game, because again, this is just a different offense with different types of weapons. How many carries do they give him? But I think if he doesn't have all those carries, I think this is a good pick because he's going to have receptions. They're going to try and get him at least a few catches, even if they don't go for a lot. That's 3 or 4 points just off the catches as well. Justin, you have the second pick. Who are you going with?
I could go CeeDee Lamb and be like, oh, he dominates the Giants, and he has good games against the Giants. Screw that.
I think you should.
Darren Waller.
Yeah. He was number one on my big board. Dude, he's going to have like 25 catches.
I hope. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know how, where, when, how, why, but all I know is that he's healthy. It's week one. It's going to happen. Let's go.
That is true. I respect that.
I'll save more thoughts for a few minutes later.
Ooh.
Yeah. But I think Waller was number one on my big board. Saquon was number two. So unfortunately, this is part of why I didn't. Anytime the Giants and the Cowboys play, because there's just a lot of dudes. I like the third pick because it's just you get those back-to-back picks, and I think the record for fantasy was me having this pick for the Cowboys. I think it was the Kadarius Toney game, but I'm gonna go CeeDee Lamb with my first pick.
Oh wow!
I mean, he's their number one wide receiver. He's been able to beat the Giants consistently. He's a threat. Like he's going
first pick. Wow.
He's gonna go with it, and then I'm even going another Cowboy with my second pick. I'm going Tony Pollard. He's their starting back. They've had success running the ball. The Giants improved their run defense. How much did they improve it? But honestly, there's really no sound logic for picking anyone else. Even though there's plenty of guys who you can make an argument might have a better game than these two. You're kind of gambling on that. This is the sound logic is taking Lamb and Pollard third and fourth.
Yeah.
No, I don't hate it.
I hate it, but I don't hate
I knew I'd be in this situation, and that's why I didn't, because I didn't want to start week one picking the opponent, even though picking opponent is just a part of this fantasy draft. But I'm going.
You elected to go third, so you put yourself in this situation.
Because I think it's the smart thing to do, and I want to be week one next week versus the Cardinals when we're playing a bad team where there's not much selection. Unlike you guys, I think this shit through. I got the big board.
He really thought
I went and looked at the schedule to see when I wanted the first pick. So there's levels to this. All right,
so
Justin.
Hopefully you're a mush. I'm gonna take Michael Gallup.
Michael Gallup. Wow.
Was he next on your big board?
No, he was not. He was seventh on my big board. You took him. Actually, no, he was eighth on my big board. You just took him fifth.
Wow.
Why Gallup over any Giants wide receiver or Cooks?
Going up against the rookie, and he kind of just easily mossed in that second game last year, and I think he'll have an opportunity to do it again. I don't want him to, but I think he'll have an opportunity to do it again. And out of all, I'm still not sold on how much the Giants are going to just flat out throw the ball. And I think Darren Waller is going to be the guy that is getting the majority of the attention in the receiving game.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Danny, you have back-to-back picks.
All right. So I'm going Brandon Cooks here. So I'm not going to let Brandon Cooks go by me. Now this is where I'm
he was fifth on my big board.
Where I'm overthinking it. Because I'm going to be going a Giant here. It's just a question of, do I want to go Campbell Or do I want to go Hodges? Because I don't really like any other Cowboy options. I don't think that Jake Ferguson. I ain't expecting much from Jake Ferguson, quite frankly. I just don't believe. I'm gonna take. I'm gonna take. Paris Campbell. Let's go with it. Let's go with Paris Campbell right here. I feel like Paris Campbell could get some looks this week. And I mean, the Cowboys know Isaiah Hodgins is basically the Giants' #1 wide receiver. So give me a little Paris Campbell action. Maybe Paris Campbell get lost in the shuffle.
Okay, Justin, what's your third pick? By the way, this is I always say this is like I do think this is a good way to talk about the matchups. It's not simply a fantasy draft. It's a way to go through quick matchups and stuff. So I think there's a little analysis to this. It's not just us effing around. Justin, who's your third pick?
Danny, Brandon Cooks, and who else?
Campbell.
Paris Campbell.
I think it's clear to just go Darius Slayton here.
Damn, Darius Slayton was 6 on my big board.
Solid show.
I think Paris Campbell's good. They're going to do a lot of different things with him. I'll be interested to see how much he gets the ball, but I think they're going to be moving him around a lot. But Slayton is the Giants wide receiver 1. That's who I was hoping to get here.
I got him. You chose to go third.
Well, this is why I went third, is I do feel good about the 2 picks I can get, and I didn't want to end up with Jake Ferguson or Daniel Bellinger, and when there's so much firepower on these 2 teams. So I'm going Isaiah Hodgins. Maybe I'll change my tune. Like, actually, Hodgins is much more important than Darius Slayton.
See, there you go.
But I do think Isaiah Hodgins is going to be a big part of this offense. And if Isaiah Hodgins is going off the field, it's going to be for Jalen Hyatt. And I'm going to take Jalen Hyatt with my 4th pick. And again, like, preseason and training camp changed my expectations for this guy. Where I think he's going to create big plays consistently. Not going to get a ton of volume, but he's going to create big plays consistently. And we talked about it all in the beginning of this podcast, Justin, that they're aggressive as hell, but that leaves them vulnerable. Well, who is the #1 player on this Giants team who can make you vulnerable in a flash? It's Jalen Hyatt. So against their aggressive corners, I am taking Jalen Hyatt with my 4th pick. And that's why I did the 3rd pick, because I can get a guy like Jalen Hyatt last.
Am I up?
Yeah, 10 out of 8. 10 out of the top 10 on my big board, all gone. So, good job, guys.
Danny, turn on your headphones. Jake Ferguson will be
makes sense. Starting
my
tight end.
pick. Starting tight end. That's a guy that I really liked coming out of college, and I think he's going to be a little bit better this year than maybe people give him credit for. Not against the Giants, of course.
Danny, who is the last pick? This is you're taking a backup. So who are you going with?
I'll take Bellinger. No, wait. No, yeah, Bellinger.
Come on, yeah.
He's a red zone threat. Bellinger really is a touchdown or bust guy, though, this year. Which, I think he's going to get a good handful, but he's someone that's going to be a little worrisome picking this year, because there's going to be some 1-catch, 8-yard games. Or at least last year, even though he wasn't giving you the most, at least all right, at least I have a starting tight end. So we'll see. Cager might even have more yards than him in this game. I wouldn't be surprised in that at all, but Bellinger is the touchdown threat. All right, to recap, Danny has Saquon Barkley, Brandon Cooks, Paris Campbell, and Daniel Bellinger, coming off of a last place finish last year. Second place, Justin. He has Darren Waller, Michael Gallup, Darius Slayton, and Jake Ferguson. And then the winner last year, myself, had CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard, Isaiah Hodgins, and Jalen Hyatt. All right, Justin, our next segment is Giant Factors, where it's an X Factor, but because we're a Giants podcast, we call it Giant Factor. Before that, who is Giant Factor brought to us by?
This week, Giant Factor is brought to us by, you'll never guess, Factor. That's right, Factor.
They did it. Thank you, Factor.
Factor is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. In fact, guess what I had for lunch, Danny King?
What did you have?
Factor. Duh. Because Factor has changed my life. I had a cheesy bacon chicken ranch. I put it in a bowl, and I mixed in mushrooms, and I mixed in broccoli, because, cheesy bacon ranch chicken, that sounds like it's got some calories, but it's all portion controlled. It was very, very good, and I added my broccoli, and I added my mushrooms, mixed it all together in a bowl, and guess what? I took it out of the Factor box, I put it in a bowl, and I put it in the microwave. 2 minutes in the microwave, I have a really good meal that's ready to rock and roll. And then even this past week, I had some extra factor in my fridge. So I was like, I don't want to pay New York City lunch prices. So I just put it in my backpack, lay it on flat, put it in the fridge when I get to the office. And that's in a case where I don't even put it in a bowl. I don't even put it on a plate or anything. I just leave it in its container, poke some holes in it, 2 minutes in the microwave, boom, ready to rock and roll. Great freaking lunch. Factor has changed my life. They have really good food, really good stuff. And they also have breakfast stuff too, which I'm just finding out from this ad read, like cinnamon pancakes, bacon and cheddar egg bites. Fantastic. Head to factormeals.com/Giants50 and use code Giants50 to get 50% off. That's code Giants50 at factormeals.com/Giants50 to get 50% off. Bobby Skinner, you'll be glad you did.
You'll be glad you did. Danny, you're first up this week. Who is your Giant factor for week 1?
You guys already talked about it a little bit, so I won't give the nice long speech, but my Giant factor is Evan Neal. We need to see improvement, and it's a big week. Not only it's Cowboys week, you're on Sunday Night Football, so everyone's going to be watching you. They all know the struggles you had last year. How are you going to come out and be a difference maker? They're going to put DeMarcus Lawrence up against you because he kind of just had his way. Like you said, Micah Parsons will probably with Andrew Thomas. Maybe he'll go over there, but that's besides the point. Evan Neal needs to show improvement. If we don't see improvement, then it starts to become problematic. Andrew Thomas showed improvement in year 2. Evan Neal needs to do the same thing. I'm not saying he needs to be the next Andrew Thomas. He just needs to be a capable right tackle and give Daniel Jones the time he needs. So Evan Neal, just give Daniel Jones the time. Show that you made the strides that we all believe you could make in the offseason. So Evan Neal, you're my Giant factor.
It's going to be a lot of pressure and nerves on Evan Neal. You go out there and put 2 good drives together to start the game, and that is going to build a ton of confidence. So, yeah, Evan Neal. Like, I thought about picking him for this one, but I didn't. Justin, who is your Giant factor for week 1 versus the Cowboys?
Little cliche, little simple. Does it feel too obvious? But no. This is the first game of Darren Waller. Darren Waller is my Giant factor this week. A guy that, guess what? In all actuality, didn't give a ton to get, but a guy that can change this offense entirely. It can take an offense that was 32nd in explosive pass play rate last year, and it could bring him to hopefully what is a lot better and bring us to a promised land of having a fully functional, exciting, modern-day offense. Darren Waller can change everything for this Giants team. We don't know fully what it's going to look like. The opportunities are endless on how he can be used, how he can catch the ball, who is going to be guarding him, where he's going to be catching the ball. Darren Waller, go out there, be a Giant factor, because right now, you're a wild card. The Cowboys, no other team in the NFL exactly knows how the Giants are going to use you. Use that to your advantage. Be a Giant factor, Darren Waller.
My Giant factor for week 1. He's also my Giant factor for this Giants season. And it is Kayvon Thibodeau, the 5th overall pick, the first big addition by this Giants new regime. You were picked. There was 4 guys picked before you in an NFL draft of almost 300 players. You were the 5th one off the board. Had a solid rookie season. But there are steps that need to be taken to get to the next step, to live up to that draft slot. And guess what? That starts now. There should be a year 2 jump. You should turn into one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. You should be pressuring down in, down out, no matter who you're playing. And guess what? The Cowboys are a good barometer for that. Their tackles are solid, not great. You should be winning versus Tyron Smith. You should be winning versus Terrence Steele. Not because those guys suck, but because you are going to be great. So, Kayvon Thibodeau, man, we need you this season. And if we want to get Dak to throw interceptions, we're going to need that pressure. You say primetime loves Kayvon. Well, you're starting week 1, your year 2 on primetime. Show up. Make play after play. Not a play here and there. Make play after play. And be a Giant factor. Kayvon Thibodeau, you are my week 1 Giant factor. All right, let's do spread picks. Last year, I won again. I swept fantasy and spread. I was 69 and 67. I've never been under 500, which is really nice. Tied for second and last, Justin, Danny, and the listeners, after 17 weeks.
That's unity right there.
All went 65 and 71. All of you went 65 and 71. But it's a new season. Danny, who brought us these spread picks?
I mean, the spread picks, of course, are brought to you by our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Can you guys believe we've had 7 months without an NFL game? 7 months? That's just cruel in my mind. Well, good thing that's finally over. The NFL is here, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is giving you a can't-miss offer for Week 1. So you better listen up. This week, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 on any NFL game. Any NFL game. There's a whole slate you could pick from. DraftKings is hooking everyone up with game day greatness. All customers could take advantage of 2 new offers every single game day this September. Check the app to see what you get every single game day this September. That's a lot of weeks of good game deals. What I need you to do right now is download the DraftKings Sportsbook, use World to sign up, and new customers can take home $200 in bonus bets instantly just for betting $5. That's code WORLD only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. The crown is yours. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for gambling problem, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. See dkng.com/football for eligibility, terms and responsible gambling resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Issuance?
Yep.
Issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions applies. There you go.
Say it.
Be glad you did.
Thank you.
Say it.
Spread picks. All right. Kick off. Thursday night football to start the season. We got the Lions at the Travis Kelce hobbled, maybe not even there, Chiefs. Chiefs minus 4.5. The listeners are represented by Patreon member Brother Dirk Funk. He's going Lions plus Patreon member Brother Dirk Funk.
I heard something different.
The listeners are going Lions plus 4.5. Even though Travis Kelce's injured and they don't have a ton of weapons on that offense, for me, I will always pick the Super Bowl winner unless I have like a strong feeling against, like last year with the Bills, and the Bills ended up blowing out the Rams. But I will, Patrick Mahomes defending the Week 1. I'm going Chiefs minus 4.5. Justin.
Lions are going to cover, but they're still going to lose. I need a fun Thursday night game. Lions plus 4.5.
Danny.
Not gonna lie, I'm with Justin. I think the Lions are gonna cover. The Lions just got a vibe of a team that can make noise this year, especially since they're one of the favorites probably to win the NFC North, realistically. So give me the Lions. I think they're gonna have a fun year.
I'm so pumped for the Sunday graphic for me to be 1-0 and all you guys to be 0-1.
Whoa.
Bold.
This next game is the one I had the most trouble picking, where I actually went and like looked at depth charts and was like looking at storylines and headlines and stuff. 49ers at Steelers plus 2. Danny, what are you going with this one?
I think if Nick Bosa wasn't going to be there, because it makes it sound like he will be there, unless Kyle Shanahan said, unless he has a beer belly, I probably would have went the Steelers. However, because I think I'm going to take the Niners in this opening matchup. What are they? Are they -2 or are they the +2? They're minus.
49ers are -2.
-2, yeah, I'm still taking them because I think they are just, even with Nick Bosa coming back, they're still a good team. And Sam Darnold at quarterback, because I'm correct, Sam Darnold's their quarterback to start. Or
Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy still fully? I didn't know that. Look at that. So, but still, the 49ers are the better team.
Good job, Dan. The listeners agreed with you. I'm also agreeing with you. It just came down to me as I don't trust the Steelers' offensive line right now, and I think Pickett can struggle with some pressure, and he's going to get a lot of pressure versus the 49ers. But I really like the Steelers this year. I think they're going to have a solid season, but I did go 49ers -2. Just the pass rush versus Kenny Pickett, that's the difference maker. Justin, are you agreeing with us or going against the grain?
I am agreeing. If this were Steelers at 49ers and this was 49ers +5, I would maybe this would maybe give me a little bit more pause, because I do think the Steelers are going to take a little step up this year. But Steelers +2 is a little too rich for me. So I'm going to go 49ers -2.
Yeah, it's basically a pick 'em. Titans at Saints -3. What are you going with this one, Justin?
Saints -3. It's actually funny. Dalton Feely and I, we're doing some stuff with him for JM Football. We're very much on the same wavelength that Titans may have a little bit of a rough year, whereas you think the Titans could surprise and maybe even compete for the AFC South. And I think the Saints have a super easy schedule, and they've really upgraded at quarterback, adding Derek Carr, Chris Olave second year. So give me Saints -3. They'll start out the year 1-0, and they'll win by more than 3.
I think the Saints win that division, but I do think the Titans win this game, and I'm going Titans +3.
Whoa!
Like I'm a big believer in Mike Vrabel. You got Tannehill and Henry healthy. I think DeAndre Hopkins is not the same as Julio. Like when they trade for Julio Jones, that move got way overrated by people. Hopkins is like still a really good player. It's just how long and the contract that he wanted. So I'm going Titans +3. The listeners went Saints -3. Danny, who are you going?
I mean, how can anyone pick the Saints when their rookie quarterback, Jake Hander, got suspended? No, I'm taking the Saints still. I agree with Justice's points for the most part. I think it's going to take the Titans a bit to get going. And I just also want to see DeAndre Hopkins actually play with a legit quarterback before I feel like the Titans, I can pick them confidently. And Ryan Tannehill. I want to see how Ryan Tannehill performs as well. I got questions about him.
Yeah, I think Tannehill's going to look a lot better than he did last year when he has Hopkins and not Robert Woods as his wide receiver one.
True.
Panthers at Falcons -3.5. This is the worst game on the 8-game spread that we do. I'm going Panthers +3.5, but I do think the Falcons win this game by 3 or 2 points. You know that the number 1 overall QB has never won their first game in the
Really?
week 1 of the season.
Wow.
But the thing is, I hate Desmond Ridder. I do. I really do hate him, but I love so much about the Falcons offense. Their defense gives me a little pause, even though they've upgraded a good amount. But I'm going to go Panthers +3.5 because I just think they're going to run the ball a lot and hang in there, and they're going to lose by 3 points exactly. So I'm going Panthers +3.5. Justin, what do you got on this one?
I think Falcons get ahead early, and they punch the accelerator. And by punching the accelerator, I guess they're going to just put it on maybe cruise control a little bit because that's the type of team that they run. They run the ball more than like any other team in the NFL, and they're one of the few NFL teams that, at least as of last year, they run the ball more efficiently than they throw the ball. They're a very weirdly built team, but hey, it's fun watching it in the modern NFL. Falcons -3.5. The Panthers looked really, really bad in the preseason, and I don't think they're going to compete at all this year.
Me
either, but I just hate Desmond Ridder. Danny, who do you got?
Yeah, like I don't like the Falcons. Like the Panthers, they just look terrible. That I just don't feel confident that they can even cover a 3.5 point spread. So I'm gonna take the Falcons as well.
All right, so it's me versus everyone because the listeners agree with you guys. Eagles at Patriots +4. I'm going Eagles -4. The Patriots. If this was week 5, I might pick the Patriots to at least cover. But the Patriots like kind of historically start off slow, even when they had Brady and stuff. And I think there's going to be good offensive improvements for them, but they just don't have like the talent to match up with the Eagles, even though they're not having, Joe Judge and Matt Patricia call their plays anymore. So I'm going to go Eagles -4. Danny.
Yeah, I'm going Eagles -4 as well. They're just by far the better team than the New England Patriots. Maybe Zeke can help them out a little bit, but I just don't see the way the Patriots win unless Tom Brady really motivates them on Sunday.
Justin.
Tom Brady will be in Las Vegas watching his Las Vegas Raiders.
It's a ceremony for him this Sunday.
Oh, look at that. Patriots
Wrong.
+4.
I hate picking against Bill Belichick, but it is what it is. And for the Eagles, but Dolphins at Chargers -3. I think Mike McDaniel and this offense and Tua are going to come out rolling. I think they're winning this game. I'm going Dolphins +3. They're my pick in the against the spread league this week. And the Chargers, I don't think Kellen Moore. I think he's going to be an upgrade to Lombardi. I don't think he's going to be some like world-changing offensive coordinator. I think the Dolphins pull this out because it's early in the season. Another one where it's later in the season, I might pick the Chargers. Earlier in the season, I'm picking Dolphins +3. Justin.
I'm agreeing with you. Dolphins are, a sneaky team out of the AFC where if Tua Tagovailoa can kind of keep his head straight, that they're going to they could do some really fun stuff because Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, there is no other team in the NFL that has anything close to 2 alpha number 1 wide receivers on their team. Plus, they've really have made some upgrades to their defense, and Vic Fangio is their defensive coordinator now. So give me Dolphins +3.
The listeners are also going Dolphins. Danny, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I love the Dolphins still. As long as Tua can not keep his head straight, I think they'll make a noise in the AFC. So I'm taking the Dolphins. I guess the only question I have is Teron Armstead even playing this week? Because I say he was a DNP yesterday. So
I don't know. Teron Armstead is one of the better tackles in the league. He just keeps getting injured lately the last few years.
That's why I'm a little concerned for Tua.
So you're going Dolphins, though?
I am still going Dolphins. That's just my one concern if Teron Armstead is going to play this week.
In the Toxic Bowl, we got the Packers at the Bears -1, a true pick'em. After all offseason, I thought, am I going to be a Fields believer or not? And I've decided I'm not a Justin Fields believer. I'm going Packers +1. Justin?
Give me the Bears. I don't love it, but Justin Fields, fantasy quarterback. I guess I'm a Justin Fields believer now.
Justin or Danny, are you agreeing with me and the listeners with the Packers, or are you agreeing with Justin and the Bears?
You know, I feel like Jordan Love's just going to go out there and have fun. I'm taking the Packers. Why not? Let's see what Jordan Love can actually do against the Bears. Maybe
I think they're going to lean on them in the run game, too. I think the Packers are going to have a great rushing game. Bears' D-line isn't very good. Monday Night Football. Bills at the Aaron Rodgers-led Jets +2.5. Danny, who are you going with?
I think, obviously, the Jets, I think they could make a run, but I'm also hesitant because I saw the Mets pay for their team and lose. The Jets paid for their team. I think they can suffer the same fate. I think the Bills are going to go in the MetLife Stadium and beat the Jets. They will also still cover, so I'm taking the Buffalo Bills. I think this is an outright type of game for the Buffalo Bills. I think the Jets is just sports shows need something to talk about Monday, and I think the Jets lose it or Tuesday, and that'll suffice them seeing that.
The listeners are picking the Jets +2.5. Justin, who are you agreeing with, the listeners or Danny?
I think, can I make it an every week gag that I just go against the Jets every week? I may do that. Bills -2.5.
I agree. I'm going Bills -2.5. Last year they were the hot offseason team. They've been quiet, you don't hear much out of there. And I think they are pissed off. They are quietly pissed off at how their season went last year. I think they got Dalton Kincaid to kind of fill some of that Cole Beasley role that was missed. And I think Josh Allen is the superior quarterback by a good margin now over Aaron Rodgers. And I think the Bills watched that film of the Jets beating them last year with Zach Wilson, and I think the Bills are going to win this game. All right. So I'm excited to see who wins this year. Now, let's finish it off. Danny, what is your record prediction for the New York Giants and your score prediction for Sunday Night Football versus the Cowboys?
I mean, this is the best time of the year because the hopes are high, and my hopes are through the roof right now. If I'm being quite frank, the Giants are going to win this game. I think they're gonna make a big statement week one. They're going to win a close one though. I don't see this going any other way. I'm going to say right now, Giants are going to score 30 points. I'm going bigger going home this week one. I'm just going to get all my hope out there. Giants 30, Cowboys 24. Giants start the season 1-0, and we feel good. You're muted, Bobby.
Record prediction.
What? 1-0? Is that what you're trying to get?
No,
for the season. This is week
one.
Oh,
the season. My bad. I want to say that the Giants are gonna have a winning record this year.
That would be great.
I think they will, but I think it'll be barely a winning record. I think the Giants could be 9-8.
Justin, what is your record prediction for the New York Giants and your score prediction for Sunday Night Football?
Everybody's gone 10-7, so I'll one up them and I'll go 11-6. How about that? Whoa! Hey!
My bad.
Whoa! The score will be of this Giants game with about a minute and 49 seconds left. It will be 27-24. The Giants will need a field goal to tie or a touchdown to win, and Daniel Jones will lead the Giants down for a game-winning touchdown. 31-27 Giants.
All right, my record prediction is 10-7. I just truly do what I believe, and I didn't want to that's what I'm going. I'm going 10-7. I think they're going to beat some teams that maybe people don't think they should. They might lose a game that they probably should. So I'm going 10-7. I really do have a lot of faith in this offense. The defense gives me a little worry with the secondary, but I have faith in this offense to win 10 games. For Sunday Night Football, this is a tough matchup. And I think this team desperately needs to go 1-0. I think for that record prediction to hit 10-7, I think they really need to go 1-0 to start this season. You're facing a team, you haven't beat Dak Prescott since his rookie season. He's owned you, New York Giants. Dak Prescott has owned the New York Giants since his rookie season. But I'm going Giants 77, Cowboys 0. We appreciate you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this show. Be back. We're going to be recapping a win on Monday morning. We appreciate you guys. It's been a long off season. We love you. Thank you for being there for the whole ride. If you're new, welcome to the Talking Giants family. We'll see you then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.